And now it's time for our keynote, and we are very lucky today to have Rushton Hurley. Rushton is the founder and executive director of Next Vista for Learning, which houses a free library of videos by and for teachers and students at nextvista.org. Rushton has spent decades exploring innovative possibilities for bringing together proven approaches with cutting-edge technologies, from his graduate research at Stanford University, which was using speech recognition technology with beginning students of Japanese in computer-based role-playing scenarios for developing language skills, to his work with teenagers as both a high school teacher of Japanese and a principal of an online school. He's also spoke at conferences and trainings around the world to last fall's 5-day teacher challenge, which over 2,000 teachers in 40 countries signed up for. Rushton will be available today after the keynote to answer any questions, so feel free to come up after he's done. He also has a couple copies of his 2 books, Making Your School Something Special and Making Your Teaching Something Special, available for purchase as well if you would like one. Please help me give a warm welcome to Rushton Hurley.
Good morning, everybody. Well, I, for one, am jazzed. I hope you are as well. If you are not, I hope you will get there. And it's my responsibility to give that a shot. Just to get to know the audience, how many of you are elementary folks? Elementary, all right. Middle school people, the blessed by God crowd right there, okay. High school people, where are you? All right. Adult ed, where are you guys? All right, represent. All right, and university and college, where are y'all? Dr. Z in the house. All right. A couple other things I want to find out real quick. How many of you have been teaching for 1 year or less? Raise your hands. 1 year or less. All right, give that person a hand right over there, right? It gets better. All right, 2 to 5 years. Where are my 2 to 5 year people? All right, 5 to 10. Where are y'all? 10 to 20. 20 to 30. 30 to 40. Wow, give them a hand. More than 40. Back there, back there. Wow, give them a big hand. Very cool. All right, how many of you like, I'd love to raise my hand for these, but it's against my religion, anybody? I don't do that. All right, fine. So here's what we're doing today. We're going to talk about the fun and cool of getting better. Now, there's a premise there that I think is an important one. First of all, let me just check again. This is another one of those raise your hands. I promise not to do this the entire time I'm up here. But how many of you are so good at what you do that there is no room for improvement? Just a few. Okay, see? So now having made that point, the question just simply becomes how? How do we get better? Because we can. We all know we can. It's just a matter of how. So that's what we're going to explore as we go. You're going to see in my screenshots and my pictures and my images and all this that I am big into citing my sources. There's a librarian in the room. This is the best keynote ever. Nice man. All right. So I just think that's important. We need to model that for kids. It's a good thing to do, right? That kind of stuff. And I ask you to go to this one link. If you go to this one link, there will be very, very few others, even over the course of all my sessions today, that you would need to go to if you can get to this one link. So on your laptop, on your Chromebook, on your iPad thing, on your phone, on the chip in your head, whatever it may be, all right? If you would just call up this, that will get you to a place where there's a lot of info about connecting with me, about resources are there. There is a sign up for my newsletter, which could earn you a $5 Starbucks card. Whee! Some of you are like, $5, that's not much. I run a nonprofit. Better than getting hit by a truck. That's the way it is. So just keep that in mind. So at any rate, I'm about to leave this slide in a minute. So if you're kind of like, oh, wait, no, I haven't. Don't worry. Somebody who's got it next to you, actually, once you go to that, in the lower right, you'll see it right there. And if you don't find it, don't worry. That's not a reflection on your character. Okay, so with that, I want to get into a few things. My background, as was said before, all right, I am a former high school teacher. I taught Japanese language. How many other Japanese language teachers do we have in the room? Same numbers always. Excellent. All right. So I'll bet you can guess why people took Japanese. And it's because they like, well, animated movies. That's what got them into the room, right? And so they would come in, they'd be like, oh, Mr. Hurley, we're going to watch a lot of like anime in this class, huh? And I'd say, well, no, but we're going to do tons of homework. It's going to be great. And they're like, all right? And then about 6 weeks into it, they would be doing pretty good. They could read these things that look like chicken scratch for everybody, right? And they're like, I can read that. And you're like, hey, you're doing pretty good. Got a B+, good job. Yeah, I kind of like it. You're doing good. And hey, wait a minute, what's wrong with your math grade? Oh, I'm not too good at math. And I'm like, really? Do you do your homework? No, that may be it, right? Why don't you come in after school, sit down and do your math homework? You know, those kind of moments as teachers. We've all had them, right? But having no preconceptions about your ability is an interesting place to be when you're trying to learn. So the whole, why do they walk into Japanese? Because they wanted to take the language, right? That's why. Nobody was like, well, I bet that's the easy choice. That's just not how it worked, right? Consequently, they walk in and they want to learn. My guess is that every single kid who walks onto a school campus every day wants to learn. They want to walk away thinking, that was really cool. They want to see something new inside of themselves. And it's just a matter of how we figure out how to motivate them to see those possibilities. Now, I've learned a little bit about Iowa. Last few days I've been here. Little things such as, if the last 2 weeks is any indication, you guys seem to have some talent for rain. All right? Not just that, but there were some things I walked in knowing, for example, there's a fair amount of corn in the state, right? Not just that, but you guys every so often will caucus. I figure caucus is an interesting thing. It means you have to get together and talk. I'd love to see our politicians say get together and talk. Can I get an amen on that front? They're like, no, we just want to shout at each other. Shut up, young man. I said, all right, fine. There's other things I've learned as well, and this is a little bit more personal. I have been on the road for a couple of weeks, 10 days, whatever, right? And I got into Iowa late Friday night. And when I woke up Saturday morning, I went down to the little desk at the hotel where I was staying out near the airport, and I said, do you guys have a washing machine? And they said, no, but our shuttle driver can take you to a laundromat. I said, well, that'd be great. I'll get my stuff together and come on back. They're like, okay, good. So now I haven't shaven. I'm wearing kind of old jeans, and kind of old jeans is an understatement. I've got this sweatshirt on that does not make me look like I, say, stepped off of Fifth Avenue. And I get in the thing here, I've got my laundry with me, and she says, okay, so you need to go to a laundromat. I said, yeah. Now, it was morning, and it was cold, which is another same thing that seems to be like a pattern here, at least the last few days. And she says, you have no coat. I said, no, I think I may need to buy one this morning. She looks at me, and she says, there's a Goodwill close by. And I said, oh. And she says, but there's a place called Ben's, and the stuff that doesn't sell at Goodwill, they have it there, and if you're willing to dig, you can find some good stuff. And I said, oh. Now here we are, I'm like going to a laundromat, right? And I'm thinking about what she's just told me, and I'm thinking, this person is taking care of me. I didn't need to sit there and say, no, I have some money in the bank, I'm okay, or anything like that. It was just like, no, she's taking care of me. And I thought that was really, really cool. Because, we need a little bit more taking care of each other. There are kids in your classes who need someone to take care of them. They need someone to take a little time, show a little kindness. That stuff matters. So, by the way, I also learned that ranch is a big thing here. I think back to last night, and Aaron and Cassidy and Matt and Dave from you and I were all like helping us out. They are in the room, or people who love them, clearly, all right? And so all good there. You learn about these things as you go, all right? Now, going forward, though, I want to really, really kind of get into this thing of how do we get better? Because we can get better. I tell you we can get better. If you're like, oh, I'm kind of good. You can get better. Everybody can get better. So here's what we're about to do. This is kind of taking the next step from what we did yesterday with Ken, where he was talking about looking at some different images. I want to try something slightly different and work this with you, because I think Ken's message is an important one. It's part of how we think about how we get better. And to do that, we need to think about how we see things. All right, so let's give this a look. What I am about to do is show you 5 different pictures. Those 5 pictures I'll have on the screen for about 5 seconds each. Now, your job will be to remember what those 5 pictures are, talk to the person next to you about a common thread that you see with them. Is everybody with me so far? Amen, I get from the front row. Preach on, brother. All right, here we go. So, first image. Here we go. Turn to the person next to you. Come up with the 5 things you just saw and any common thread that you saw. Talk, 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 talk. Go, go, go. Use your outside voice. All right. Did you come up with a common thread? All right. If you did, great. If not, no worries. You're not a bad person. Did you hear something cool? How many of you, you said something cool, you're not sure why the person next to you didn't raise a hand a moment ago? Just checking. All right. So there's any number of possibilities for what these threads might have been, right? You look at it and you think, okay, well, I kind of saw this in them. They all had citations. That's kind of cool. Yes. The librarian takes another sniff. This is great. All right, and I will tell you what the common thread was for me when I chose these for these slides. The common thread was, I think they're all cool. Some of you were looking at me with the face of, sir, that was a phenomenally disappointing reason for putting those together. Right? And yet, there is always that reason that we have. Let's take another look at it. Isn't it cool when that kid is in your class and looks at you like, I know I can do this. I get this. I understand what you're saying. There is a confidence in that kid's face, in that kid's voice that says you are connecting with that kid, and that kid feels confident about learning. How cool is that? How cool is that when in a sea of unremarkable experiences, they may walk into your room, and in your room you have crafted a lesson that makes them go, wow, that's really, really cool. There are all kinds of things in their lives that do not inspire them, and maybe something you have done will, and that's pretty darn cool. How cool is it when that one kid starts paying attention? How cool is it when you have that sweet anticipation about something that you're ready to try, right? And you are ready to try because you try things regularly. You know that when you try things, kids begin to respond. You begin to get the feeling of, I've tried this 6 times, it didn't work, but I know it's going to work this time, and I know it's going to work for that kid. That kid I have been trying to reach for months. That sweet anticipation is something wildly cool. And how cool is it when you find that a colleague of yours has something in common that you didn't know before? This picture I took about a year ago. I was in Japan, and I was hiking up a mountain because I heard that you could get a good view. And I get up there, and I'm looking back, and I think, that's really cool. I'm huffing and puffing. I'm by 15 years the youngest person up there. But as I get ready to walk back down, around the curve comes this guy. This guy, right, with his cat. Now, I'm a cat guy, all right? I have nothing against dogs, and it's not like dogs versus cats or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm a cat guy. For me, like when a cat purrs, all is well with the world. Anybody else? All right, you 12. I'm with you. Now, so I can't help but talk to the guy. I said, excuse me, sir, may I take your picture? He's like, sure. So I did. Then I get to talking to him. I said, do you hike with your cat often, right? And he looks at me and says, for the last 18 months, every day we've come up here together. And I thought, how cool is that? That's just wildly cool. Now here's the thing. This guy probably has friends who don't know that he hikes with his cat, which is this cool thing. You have colleagues who do all kinds of wonderfully cool things in their classrooms and at home that you don't know about. That doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you haven't talked about those things, which means that by expanding the set of conversations that we have with our colleagues, we can discover ties that we didn't know we have and learn to creatively brainstorm in ways that we haven't before, which is actually something cool and interesting and allows us to get better. It allows us to get better. Now, I could ask you, did you get the right answer? right? I asked you a minute ago, describe a common thread. And then I told you what my common thread was. And then I could ask, did you get the right answer? And then I would hope you would look at me and say, sir, that's not an appropriate question. You didn't ask for the common thread. You asked for a common thread. There was no right answer, which is true. But let's think about that question for a minute. Do you know the right answer? We ask this question in classes all the time. These kids hear this question from us as educators all the time. And you know, we have these pure intentions in our hearts. We just want to know who gets it so we can kind of figure out, okay, what do we need to do next? And yet, it's not about what we ask, it's about what they hear. And I can prove that that's the case. Because for most of the classrooms around the world, when you ask, do you know the right answer? It isn't that kids all do, not typically. Typically what happens is most of the room defers to the 3 or 4 kids who always get the answer. Am I right? Our job is not to validate the living daylights out of 3 or 4 kids while everybody watches on. Our job is to inspire every last kid in that room however we can, whatever it takes. And we can. We can by getting better, understanding our language. A minute ago, I put this visual in front of you, and I said, did you get the right answer? And you might say, yeah, why'd you have that slide for that? Well, because it's pointing to the right. At which point you might say, another disappointing response from the front, right? My point actually is this. It made sense to me what it meant, but sometimes as educators, we're standing there and we're talking to these kids, and it makes sense to us what we're saying, and they're looking back at us like, I don't get it. It's not what we say, it's what they hear. Consequently, we have to kind of be in that space all the time where we're like, am I coming across? Is this message coming across? Now, my point is this, my frame is this, my goal is this, to let you know little things make us better. Little things make us better. We learn to adjust our questions a little bit. We learn to try out things in interesting ways. We learn to have certain kinds of conversations with our colleagues, and we get better day after day after day. You can be a much better teacher in the very near future by getting better day after day after day. Now, if I am right about that, and I am certain that I am, then a load of people in this room and who work with people in this room are that close to being much better teachers. You want to be a much better teacher. I want to be a much better teacher. What does it take? Little things that allow us to begin to see our work in new ways, to develop another level of personal and professional satisfaction with what we do. We do that by getting better, bit by bit by bit. There are barriers. There are barriers to getting better, and we're going to talk about them. Although first, we'll start with fear. Fear, all right? Got a little video to show you. I kind of roll that way, all right? And this video, I think, explains this pretty good. Let's see what you think. We'll watch this and then talk about it. Here we go.
We'll bring you on into the temps, and we're all doing okay. Wow, 750 degrees in Gila Bend right now. And 1,270 in Ahwatukee. Now, I'm not authorized to evacuate Ahwatukee, but this temperature seems pretty high.
Cave Creek is really
Yeah, Cave Creek, Fountain Hills, they don't look good either. And frankly, Wickenburg is a total loss. You might as well just get out of anywhere along this 60 here. It's a very warm. Surprise is starting to heat up as well at 1,300 degrees. So again, the safe spots seem to be Chandler and Mesa. Scottsdale is doing okay so far, but you know, you're sort of surrounded by some pretty intense heat. So, you know, again, I'm not your dad, but I would get out while you still can. I think steel boils at about this temperature, so Cave Creek, there's probably nothing left up there right now. So don't even bother looting up there. It's not going to be worth it.
Turn to each other and talk about what do you see in this video? What struck you about this video? Talk to each other. Go, 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 go. By the way, I will put the link to all of these slides in my resource slide, which is that one I sent you to initially, so you can get back to anything that I show you. All right? And if you don't, email me and I'll send you the link. You would do that? I would. You're such a nice guy. Happy to help. All right? Now, how many of you watch this and you're like, you love that the guy was able to kind of ad-lib, kind of in there, right? How many of you, the thing you thought about was technology was not working like you thought it was? Anybody else? You've ever had that experience? Tech not quite working the way you thought? Anybody like, always works for me? 2. All right, good. Now, what interests me, there's all kinds of things about this video that interest me. I actually showed this in Phoenix when I was doing a thing, down there some months ago. And people in the room were like, hey, that's the guy, blah, blah, blah. And they said his name, which I no longer remember, but there you go. What fascinates me about this is that the guy didn't freak out. Now, we probably wouldn't have the video if he had, granted. But it's an interesting moment when teachers are using technology in the classroom and it doesn't go right. And when I say interesting moment, what I mean is kids are paying attention now, right? They're all curious what's going to happen next. It's a bit of a NASCAR moment in the classroom, is what it is, all right? And so they're sitting there, they're watching you, and they're wondering, are you going to do this? It worked before class, and the kids are like, wow, she's freaking out, right? Now, there is another possibility, right? Your response could be something like this. Well, that didn't work. Moving on. We'll try it again later. Which may be the most important moment of the entire year. Do you know what I'm talking about? There are kids in the classroom who have learned that when something goes wrong, adults freak out. That's what adults do. At home, when something goes wrong, they have learned to get out of the way. But for the grace of God, it would be us, right? And if you are the adult in that classroom who responds to something going wrong with we'll just try something different, you may have just taught that child that you can be an adult and not freak out when something goes wrong, and that may be the most important lesson of the entire year. You know what I mean? Another barrier to getting better, to understanding that little things allow us to get better, is CIS. CIS, terrible thing. You're like, oh, terrible? Bad. It eats away at your very soul. You're like, get on with it, man. What is it? Okay, all right? It is comparative inadequacy syndrome. Some of you are like, is that real? Yes. I mean, I did make it up, but it's real, all right? But you know what I'm talking about, right? It's that thing that we have that says, I can't do this as well as this other person, so I'm not going to try. I can't do this like this other person on my grade level, or this other person in my department, or this presenter, blah, 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 blah. Can't. It's a little pathetic. And yet it happens a lot. We hold back from trying things out because we don't feel like we're going to be perfect at it the first time. Please. You have to try it out to get better. You have to try it out to figure out what you need to do to kind of allow it to be good for those kids. You have to be in a space where you're not worried about comparisons. If you don't hear anything else I say this morning, I hope you hear what I say next. The only person to whom you ever need compare yourself is the you who you were yesterday. A slow burn of applause. I'll take it, right? But it's true. It is true. If you take a little idea and you become better because you've tried something out, the next day you're like, wow, that's something I needed to add. And then you try something else out and you get better and you get better and you get better. It doesn't matter how good the person is next to you. You just go in and do the best you can. And let me add that we have a dysfunction in the space of a lot of our professional gatherings, right, especially on our campuses, that come down to this. Don't talk about the great things you're doing in the classroom because that's bragging. Please, Let's dispense with that. Our job is not to protect the fragile egos of adults, it's to inspire children every single day. Thank you again. Point being that we should be happy to hear what goes well in another classroom. We should be excited about the things that they've got going. They may give us an idea that allows us to reach that next kid, and that kid needs us to try stuff out because we're not reaching all of them. We're not reaching every last one. That's why the work is so interesting, because we're constantly challenged to figure out what is it that this kid needs. That's why our work is so very, very interesting and fulfilling if we're doing it right. And that doesn't mean doing it perfectly. It means caring about getting better day after day after day. It's little things that allow us to get better. And if you have never thought of yourself as a great teacher, you're on your way, as long as you are getting better and better and better. Anyone with a heart in teaching, for what teaching is about, inspiring children to see possibilities in themselves that they hadn't seen before, anyone with that heart can be a great teacher. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes trying things. You're going to fall on your face sometimes. Oh, well. How you respond is what teaches kids. Let's talk about some of your kids. I'm going to start by talking about the aspirin kid. Some of you are like, I'm not sure I understand what you mean, sir. The aspirin kid is the kid who walks into the classroom, looks at you, and your head begins to throb. Some of you have a child's face in your vision, like right now. Some of you are like, no, not me. 3 children. Okay, fine, right? You know, whatever it may be. But the aspirin kids do what they do for a reason. You can imagine how it works. Aspirin kid walks in the room, sits down, and looks at the teacher. There's Miss Garcia in front of the class. You're like, oh, here we go, here we go. All right? Kid raises his hand. Miss Garcia says, yes, young man, what you got? I just wanted to tell you that that's a very nice dress you're wearing. Oh, mijito, that's really cool. Thank you for saying that. That's very nice of you. Yes, it doesn't make you look nearly as large as the one you were wearing yesterday. Ms. Garcia has a moment. Everybody's paying attention. She has a moment. And she looks back at that kid and says, what a fascinating young man you are to have a comment so interesting. And I want you to know that despite it, I know you've got a bright future. I've seen this in your whole being. I know that it's there for you. And the young man looks back like this. Eh? Because it isn't what he was expecting. It's not what he was expecting. Some of you say, how do you know it was a he? It was mathematically likely to be a he. I'm just saying. All right? But. He wasn't expecting that. Sometimes, the very best thing we can do is catch them off guard. Catch them off guard with a little kindness. A little kindness. And those moments are moments that work. They work for kids because often they don't get to hear it. Why does that kid push buttons, right? Why does that kid push your buttons as a teacher? Because at home, everybody pushes everybody's buttons. That's how things are at home. But for the grace of God, that would be us, right? So what I'm going to ask you to do is make a commitment. Commitment? A commitment. Here we are, right? I'll ask you to make a commitment. More hand raising? You know it, all right? Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to choose between these two things and commit to one or the other. All right, what we got? Well, the first one is a camera that doubles as a phone. And what that does is allow you to make a, no big mystery here, positive phone call home. For your aspirin kid, look for anything that you can somehow, even tenuously, interpret as positive. And you take the opportunity later that day to call home. Now, imagine yourself in the parent's shoes for a minute. When the parent sees the call come in, sees where it's from, the parent's like, oh my God, here we go. What's he done now? And then they answer the phone. Yes. I'm Mr. Garcia. I'm calling in from the school. I just want to tell you something cool that happened today with your son. Something cool? Yeah, we were talking about this thing, and he had this insight, and everybody was really impressed because it was really creative, and that was a cool moment. I just thought you should know about it. Do not give in to the temptation to follow that statement with, and now let's talk about his behavior. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just let the phone call be a positive phone call. That may be the best moment of the year for that parent. Cost you what, 90 seconds of your time? We all know positive phone calls work. We know that. It's whether we take the time to do it. So that's one possibility. You would commit sometime in the next few weeks to making a positive phone call home for one of your aspirin kids. Or, on the right, soccer ball. It may be that the aspirin kid is on a sports team or in a performing arts group. And when a game happens or there's a performance or something like this, it may well be that no family members of the aspirin kid come to see that kid's game or performance. But you could. You could go. You could go and you could be in the stands there and you might even be grading, but you are watching for the opportunity when that kid looks over and sees you so you can be like, that's a moment. It is a moment. That kid knows at that point that you are there to cheer that kid on. Would you commit to doing that? Here we go. One or the other. Take a moment and talk to the person next to you. Which one are you about to raise your hand and commit to if you are willing to do so? Talk to each other. Go. All right, everybody. Time to commit. Show of hands. How many of you are willing to make a positive, an only positive phone call home for your aspirin kids sometime in the next few weeks? You're willing to commit to do it. Fantastic. I can imagine there's a bunch of people like from one school, and this parent gets all these positive phone calls. Like, wait, what happened? All right. How many of you would be willing to commit to attending a game or a performance of your aspirin kid? You're willing to go give that a shot. Fantastic. Fantastic. Do it. It's time well spent. May save you a whole lot of tough moments over the rest of the year if you do it early. For sure. For sure. All right. Let's talk about delivery. That last one was about rapport. This is about delivery. And in talking about this, we're going to talk about something, and we're going to make another commitment. You're like, wow, you're into that. I got the stage. All right. On the right, you see my slide from earlier, which is to say, as a professional who experiments with your craft, would you be willing to go an entire day without once asking the question, do you know the right answer? Some of you are like, what? An entire day? You may have to get creative about your questions. You might ask questions like this. All right, here's our problem, and I want you guys to pair off and explain this to me. If someone gets it wrong, what would be their thinking that they would make the mistake? See if you can kind of come up with some ideas on that. Go. That's a very different question than, do you know the right answer? It allows us to see their thinking processes. And in talking with each other about common misconceptions of the ideas that we are covering in the class, you may well have kids that are like, what, you mean that's wrong? Right? Those are good moments. So, first option, would you commit to an entire day just to see how it goes without once asking, do you know the right answer? Second option, you're like, would I be willing to ring a bell? Sort of what I mean. It works this way. Would you be willing to go an entire day without once raising your voice? Some of you are like, sir, you're now stepping on toes. Sorry, all right? But here's my point. I am not saying the kids don't get loud and sometimes need to be reined in. What I'm saying is don't use your voice. Use a bell. I'm a native Texan. If I pick up a cowbell and ring it, the windows shake. It's in my DNA. I'll go like the kids are like, right? And I only had to do it for the first couple of weeks. I could pick it up. Kids in front of me like, oh. Kids in the back are like, what? Ooh, oh. Right? And I put it down. Back to grammar. All right? Point is this. There's something about raising your voice that may make an association that you do not want in the classroom. It may be that the kid goes home and everybody at home raises their voice with each other, and you're making an association with the class when you raise your voice. Maybe an association you don't want to make. And if you ever need to raise your voice, you don't want it to be something that they're really used to. There may come a time, God forbid, that you have to say, everybody under your desks now. And if so, they need to know that you're serious. It can't sound like every time when you're like, quiet, quiet, quiet. It can't sound like that same thing. Use something else to capture their attention. Find a noisemaker. Would you be willing to go an entire day to see how it goes without once raising your voice? All right. Same thing. Talk to each other. Which one is for you? Talk to each other. Go, 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 go. All right, everybody. Time to commit. Here we go. How many of you would be willing to try going an entire day without once asking the question, try it, do you know the right answer? How many of you are like, I'll try it, I'll try it, I'll try it. All right? A lot of you are like, What about this? You're willing to try going an entire day without once raising your voice. Who's ready? Fantastic. Fantastic. Give it a shot. Give it a shot simply to see what happens. That's who we are at our best. We are people who experiment and figure out what it is that allows us to get better and better and better. Because sometimes the idea of getting better can seem like what it means to look at clouds from an airplane window. They're out there. It's beautiful. It's incredible. And you know, it's out of reach. I can't get there. Sometimes that's what it seems like when we're talking about improving who we are as educators. But you know, that's not it. That's not it. Getting better is not a function of, say, spending tons of money on becoming, getting your doctorate. That's not a bad thing to do, but that's not how you get better. You get better with little things, day in, day out. That's how we get better. Little things. Little things make us better. Little things allow us to see new possibilities in the students and in ourselves. We have to be willing to try little things and have a little fun along the way. If you are looking at this slide and you don't think it's fun, then you and I are cut from different wood. That's fun, right? And sometimes the fun is what allows us to kind of attract their attention. We can't teach them squat if they don't have, any interest in what we're doing. If we don't have their attention, ain't nothing getting taught. So consequently, we have to kind of be in that space of all right, we're going to have some fun doing what I'm doing. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not telling you that our job is to entertain children. That is not our job. Our job is to inspire them. But if you're having fun teaching what you teach, a lot of them will come along for the ride. They will come along for the ride. Let's see what we can do. Let's make some things happen. Let's try to make this fun. I want to give you an example of some fun learning. This is a clever piece that was put together by some students and a teacher, talking about a little science idea here. You see what you think. Here we go.
Hi, welcome to States Matter. I'm your host, Physical Change, but you can call me Callie. Let's welcome our bachelor, Bert.
Pleasure to be here, Callie.
I'm sure it is. Have a seat. Let's get started. Let's welcome our first contestant. She holds her shape and volume. Let's welcome Solid. Let's welcome our second contestant. She holds volume, but does not hold shape. Let's welcome Liquid. Let's welcome our third and final contestant. She does not hold her volume and does not hold shape. Let's welcome Gas. Bachelor, go ahead and ask your first question.
Contestant number 1, if you and me were to hang out for one night, what would we do?
I don't know, I don't like to move around a whole lot, so I'd just sit around all day.
Contestant number 2, same question.
I'll just do whatever you want to do. I just go with the flow.
Contestant number 3, if you and me were to hang out for one night, what would we do?
We can do a million things. We can go have pizza, go ice skating, go bike riding, go to roller skates, and go to Goo, and go everywhere. It seems like Gas has a lot of energy. Well, Bachelor, the choice is yours. You don't have to choose. We're all the same thing, just in a different physical state.
Well, that made things easy.
Well, go and meet your contestants.
All right, if you like what these kids did, give them a hand, yeah? There's something fun about this stuff. There's something fun about taking a little time to have kids, like, craft something together. Too often, we hold back from this kind of thing because we're like, oh, yeah, that's all very nice, but how much time did it take, huh? Time. You're just like, yes, it takes time, but let's talk about time for a minute. Things take time. You could teach 10 times faster than you do. What? You could teach 10 times faster than you do. It would look like this. All right, everybody, make sure to learn this. This is really, really important. This over here, it's got to be memorized. This is going to be on the test. Over here, oh my goodness, this is important. Make sure you know it. Here we go. Would they learn anything? No. No. What matters is that they learn. Sometimes we think it's about what we teach. It's about what they learn. So, consequently, we have to be in that space of thinking about time a little differently. I have been there. I have been there thinking to myself, you want me to do what? I barely have enough minutes to get through the curriculum as it is. And I need, at a moment like that, someone to look me in the eye and say, you barely have enough time given the way you teach. That's not critique. It's a message of hope. You can teach differently. You can teach in such a way that they will remember it more effectively. It can be more interesting. You can get more attention out of them. You can get more quality out of them. We can all get better. We can get better. And in so doing, we figure out something very important about ourselves. One, it's not about the number of minutes we have. It's about the number of good minutes we craft. That's part of how this works. Now, I run a little nonprofit, Next Vista for Learning. It's at nextvista.org. Go there every day and click lots of times. It'll be awesome. All right? What is it? It is an online library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere, free to use, free to contribute to, free to download from, all for a student audience, all screen content. It's my own little attempt to save the universe from ignorance, one creative video at a time. Boop, right there. Okay, so that's what that is. And we have about 2,500 videos on the site, made by teachers and students around the world. You probably have something that you love to teach. You've got this really cool way of describing it, and every year the kids are like, yeah, that's cool. But the only lucky ones of those kids assigned to your room. Make a video out of that so others can watch that and go, oh, that's what my teacher was trying to tell me. Or maybe your kids are learning these things and they're coming up with their own insights and connections, which is what they're supposed to be doing, not just memorizing, coming up with connections. And in so doing, they make a video about the connection that they come up with, and that connection becomes something that allows a kid in another place to go, oh, that's what this is about. This is what my little nonprofit video library is about. I would love to work with you to make that happen. Love to. What does it cost? It's free. You're so nice. Happy to help. All right? Now, the video library is divided into 3 collections. The first one is light bulbs. It's about academic topics and careers, right? The career section kind of works this way. The idea is that the videos answer 4 questions. What's your job title? What does a typical day look like? What kind of education or training does it take to get the position? And what do you love about your work? Because that can allow kids to begin seeing paths for themselves. We got a video in there about a guy who is paid to pilot underwater vehicles for science research with the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute. You can imagine some 12-year-old watching that going, what? That guy gets paid to do that? Yeah, pretty cool, huh? It is. I want to do that. You should do that. Wow. Will I have to pay attention in math? You might, right? They need to know. They need to know that there's a path. You might say, I've got kids studying careers all the time. We could make videos and work with you. Exactly. Ding. All right, so let's make that happen. I would love to have videos from your students on our site to inspire others around the world. Let's work together. We have these contests. Creative Storm, this is going on right now. It goes through December. How does it work? In 90 seconds or less, creatively explain something one might encounter in school. The States of Matter video was actually one that was submitted as part of one of our contests. Now, only so many videos become finalists. But I will tell you this. If you have one of your kids make a video and submit it, and you write me, and you say, Rushton, this kid made this video. I don't think it's that great, but I will tell you, she worked really hard on it. Will that kid get an honorable mention? Oh, yeah. 60 seconds of my time on Photoshop? No problem. Let's do it. And the finalists get $25 gift cards. Whee! The winner gets a $50. Wow, that's great. Not much, but again, nonprofit, way it is, all right? We also have the Service Via Video contest. The Service Via Video contest works this way. Research a charity in your community. Get to know their story. Interview some volunteers. Learn to communicate in kind of a good business letter fashion, where what you do is you say, would you happen to have images that we could use as a part of making the video telling about what you guys do to improve the community? See if they'll communicate with you. If so, this is a good one to highlight, and you may end up with a finalist video in our contest that earns that charity, 501c3 recognized charity, a $200 donation. They can learn that their storytelling ability could earn something for that organization right now, not to mention what the exposure of having a video that's out there that allows people to kind of share that story might mean. We have videos that are designed to help kids with advice. So, for example, we contact interesting people and we ask them to give us short answers to 3 questions. Why do you do what you do? Tell us a story about something that's meaningful to you, and what advice would you give your 16-year-old self? We've just started building the set. If you've got kids that you're like, these kids, a lot of teens have a little trouble listening to advice. I hope that's not news. But it may be that we can find somebody who has some good story to tell that will allow some teen to go, oh. As I mentioned, we've got these careers videos. I know English teachers that use these as writing prompts. Pick any 3 out of here, just based on the title, watch them and tell me, what was compelling? What did you think was kind of weak about it? Did it make you feel like it was something that you might be interested in doing? Why or why not? Writing prompts, totally fine. And we're trying to build the largest collection of free videos in the world for students who are learning English. Because if you go looking on YouTube or something, you'll find onesie-twosie stuff, or you might find a great collection, but it actually costs something, to access, which means 99.999% of the world can't deal with it. So we're like, let's see if we can come up with a really large collection of free videos. And we're up to about 450. But if you've got EL kids, talk to me. Stay in touch. Let's see if this will be good for you. All of these are stories of learning. They're stories of learning. All of you have stories of learning. Those stories of learning make us better. They make us better. You have a tricycle on the screen. I do. It's part of a story. I have a friend in Wisconsin. Her name is Sue Gorman. Wonderful lady. Talented, talented teacher. Person who shares stuff, right? And she has a grandson. And that grandson has cerebral palsy. And if you know anything about cerebral palsy, you know that the exercise a young child gets early on will determine much about how mobile that kid will be the rest of his or her life. And they needed the grandson to ride a tricycle because that's excellent exercise. But you know, he didn't want to do it. No big mystery why. It hurt. Why don't you ride the tricycle? That hurts. And a creative teacher said, let me take a shot. And the creative teacher said to that young man, hey, why don't you give Puppy a ride? This is who we are at our best. That creativity about what we can do, and every last one of us can be creative. It's just a matter of whether we exercise our creative muscle or not. Turn to the person next to you. Is there something in your teaching experience that represented a moment where a kid made a breakthrough? Talk to each other. Go. All right. I apologize for cutting that conversation short, because I know that if we took time just to share our stories, that the talent and experience of the people in this room, if shared broadly, would inspire every last one of us to see new possibilities in ourselves. Stories do that. We need to tell our stories. We need to tell the stories of these children. We need to give them the confidence that they can tell their own stories. Your creativity matters. It matters. Whatever you think about yourself as a creative person, you can become more creative every single day simply by engaging in creative activities. No less an authority than Maya Angelou once said, creativity is an unlimited resource. The more you use, the more you have. And it's true. It is true. Have those moments of creative brainstorming with your colleagues. Talk about your stories. We got what? 500,000 people in this room? Something like this? Ish, right? And then there's like that set of people who are watching the recording, right? Those of you watching the recording, thank you for watching this recording. But whatever it is we do, we can get a little more creative about it. And we can be in that space where we figure out what that next kid needs. Let's recap some ideas for you. Find the cool in what you do. There is cool that happens on your campus every day. Every single day, some teacher on your campus does something cool. You may not know about it, but it happens. I'll go one better. Every single teacher on your campus does something cool at least once a year, perhaps by accident, but it happens, right? Celebrate it. Whatever that is, celebrate it. We all need those moments. Understand that little things make you better. Little things make you better. Try stuff out. Try a tool. Try an idea. Ask kids what they think. Turn to them and say, well, guys, we just tried this, and I think it bombed. But you tell me, how should we change it if we were to do it again so that it would be good for your learning? Any ideas? They'll have some ideas. They come to school all the time. Lots of them. They'll have some ideas. Do not let CIS, right? We can all get better, right? Do not let CIS be a thing for you. Sorry, a moment. Because it's not about the person next to us. It's about finding ways to just get better ourselves. Compare yourselves only to that person you were yesterday. That's how you get better. Have some fun with it as you go. There are things that got you into teaching, things that you treasure. It could be the stories of history, the beauty of poetry, the puzzles of mathematics, the mysteries of science, the joy of health, the intricacies of language, the beauty of music. Whatever it is that got you into teaching, that made you say, I want to teach, be in touch with that and let the fun of that be a part of what you do. The kids will come along for the ride. And tap into your creativity. You've got it. You are creative people. How creative? That's up to you. But tap into it. You'll get more creative every time you do. And some kid may need that. All right. Shameless plug. I wrote 2 books. Woo! All right, now, a little bit about these books, because these books are heart and soul went into these, right? Making your teaching something special. 50 simple ideas for getting better as a teacher, divided into 5 areas: rapport with students, assignments and assessments, delivery of instruction, collegiality and professionalism, and logistics. I hope you'll give that a look. And I've got another one called Making Your School Something Special right there. Making Your School Something Special is about how to foster and share stories of success in your community so that that can allow you and your team to make your setting all the better a space. We all want to get better individually. We all want to be a part of something magical together. I wrote these books to try to help make that happen. Please give them a look. Come up to me and talk about it afterwards if you want. I would love to talk to you. And by the way, if you decide that you and several friends are going to have a little book study with one of these, you write me. Just write me and say, hey, could you connect with us and a video conference and talk to us about it? Absolutely. What does it cost? That's free. Wow, you're nice. Happy to help. All right? But I figure you've already bought the book, right? It's all good, right? Now, I hope you'll also sign up for my newsletter. As I mentioned before, at the end of the conference, I will do a little random number generator thing. I will pick out a couple of names based on those numbers, and I will send you an electronic gift card from Starbucks or wherever you like, right, for $5. Because, sometimes we just need a little extra caffeine. How many are in that space right there? A little extra caffeine, not a bad thing. Some of you let's just finish so I can get to it now. Okay, fine, all right? So if you have questions, come and talk to me. I'd love to talk to you more. We'll have a little time up here for anybody interested. Either go down with the little purple ribbon situation, go see those, or come up here and talk to me, or do what you need to do. But I need to finish. So here we go. There's my email address right there, and I answer every single email I get eventually. Eventually. All right? The video library right there at nextvista.org, right there. I'm on Twitter at RushtonH. If you like the things I tweet, follow me. If not, don't bother. I was a little late to Instagram, so I'm at Rushton was taken. Thank you for understanding that, all right? Tons of resources at nextvista.org/resources. If somebody sent you here and said, make sure to bring something good back for everybody else. We're spending money on you. That kind of thing. Then you can be like, here we go, a couple hundred free resources for everybody. Mic drop, done. All right, and you're fine. All right, feel free. Under that, you'll see my newsletter. Sign up. You may win, like the caffeine. Under that, the 5-day teacher challenge. You're like, wow, that sounds like a cleanse. Actually, what it is 5 blog posts where each day there are 2 things, and you just kind of choose the one that seems cooler to you and give it a shot. It'll help make you better, and talk about it with your colleagues. See what you think. And then finally, my slides. I will put a link to all of these slides so you can get back to them. You are welcome to stay in touch. And I hope that you'll kind of be willing to let me inflict a bunch of cool ideas and free resources and fun video projects and things like that on you every month with the newsletter. I finish the newsletter with the same line every month, and I will finish my keynote with the same line now. May you inspire and be inspired each and every day. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your conference.